You've been told to be nice, to be kind, to wait your turn. But in a world ruled by cunning and power, that mindset leaves you vulnerable. People lie, manipulate, and dominate without remorse. And if you don't see it coming, you'll be the pawn in someone else's game. In this video, we're going to uncover 5 psychological rules that will help you outsmart anyone. Not through cruelty, but through deep understanding of the human mind. These are not ordinary life tips. These are ancient strategic insights built for survival in a deceptive world. Stay till the end, because the last rule is the one most people never master, and it's the one that will make you unstoppable. The first law of dominance is not to control others through force, but through mystery. Concealing your intentions is the cornerstone of strategic power. It allows you to act freely without interference, to shape perception while keeping your opponents guessing. A man who reveals his plans invites opposition, envy, or sabotage. One who says little, who moves without broadcasting his aims, builds an invisible fortress around his will. Most people speak openly of their dreams and desires, unaware that each word is a thread others can pull to unravel their ambitions. Their need to be understood becomes the very rope by which they are hung. To dominate in silence is to let others underestimate you, misread you, or ignore you, until it is far too late. Power often slips through the hands of the talkative. The more you explain yourself, the more ground you lose. People do not deserve to know your purpose. They are not entitled to your map. Their judgments are not to be feared, but manipulated. Concealing your intentions is not about paranoia. It is about playing a game where the rules are written in shadows. When others believe they understand you, they place boundaries around you. They assign you a role. And once they do, they watch for movements outside that script. If you deny them that certainty, if you remain unreadable, they drift in confusion. And in that fog, you maneuver freely. People are predictable in their desire for clarity. They want to label others to box them, to understand who they are dealing with. But if you deny them that pleasure, they grow anxious, then careless. They start to project, to imagine, to assume. Their minds build a version of you that has nothing to do with who you are, and that illusion becomes your shield. When you are unreadable, they cannot mount a defense against you. They cannot brace for a move they do not see coming, and they exhaust themselves trying to predict your next step while you simply take it. The wise learn to speak in circles. They respond to direct questions with half-truths, distractions, and vague statements, not because they fear confrontation, but because they understand that truth is a weapon best used selectively. They smile in meetings while preparing silent revolutions. They appear cooperative while planting seeds of personal conquest. To say less is to reveal less is to risk less, and to risk less is to survive longer. This principle does not make one weak. It makes one invincible through misdirection. In a court of power, everyone is watching. Allies, rivals, subordinates, all wait for signs of intent. A glance, a word, a move too soon can destroy a campaign before it begins. But if your face is a mirror and your words are fog, no one can track your pulse. No one knows what you care about, what you want, what you will do next. This forces them to react to shadows, to ghosts of possibilities. And while they waste energy on phantom threats, you are free to act in the real world with precision and force. There is no honor in being an open book. Transparency is a modern disease, a virtue turned into a weakness. In the ancient games of power, the open man was the easiest to destroy. His loyalties were visible, his fears were known, his patterns were clear. But the man of silence, the one who gives nothing away, becomes a problem no one can solve. He is not just difficult, he is dangerous. Because he cannot be mapped, he cannot be trapped. And because he cannot be trapped, he cannot be stopped. Even kindness must be cloaked in ambiguity. If you do good, let others question why. If you show mercy, let it confuse them. Was it strategy? Was it emotion? Let them debate it while you move to your next position. Clarity creates predictability, and predictability is death in a power game. Your intentions must be a maze with no exit. Those who enter trying to decode your behavior should find only reflections, contradictions, and dead ends. To master concealment is to gain leverage before battle even begins. The war is often won not with the sword, but with the silence before the draw. If your enemy cannot read your intent, he does not know when to attack, where to defend, or whether he is already surrounded. And while he hesitates in uncertainty, you gain ground. While he questions your direction, you change it. And by the time he acts, the game has already ended. And he never knew it began. The second law of dominance is to master the art of selective cruelty. This does not refer to physical violence or reckless hostility, but the deliberate and strategic use of fear as a tool. People do not follow the overly kind, nor do they respect the perpetually gentle. They follow strength, and more importantly, they obey those who know when to be harsh. If you wish to dominate, your mercy must be calculated, and your cruelty must be timed. To lead, you must not seek to be liked. You must learn to be feared without being hated, respected without being loved. Power does not belong to those who crave approval. It belongs to those who are willing to do what others will not. A ruler who is too kind becomes a victim of those who test limits. Without boundaries enforced by consequence, people grow bold in their disobedience. Kindness, if constant, becomes a signal of weakness. If your hand never strikes, it ceases to carry weight. Those who aim for total dominance do not make cruelty a habit, but a statement. One well-timed act of severity, done publicly and decisively, establishes order more effectively than 100 gentle pleas. And when done correctly, it never needs repeating. The wise man strikes once, and strikes deep enough that the memory of his action governs behavior in his absence. Being feared is not about yelling or raging. It is about cultivating a presence. A man who radiates control, who speaks with sharpness when needed, who does not tolerate violation of his code, this man earns a space in the minds of others. He is remembered, calculated around, and silently obeyed. In contrast, the man who always forgives, who avoids confrontation, who apologizes excessively, teaches others that he can be pushed. And power, once questioned, becomes eroded. People test boundaries not out of malice, but instinct. They want to know who they are dealing with. If you teach them that there are no consequences, they will walk over you, not out of hatred, but because you've allowed it. True cruelty is not wild or emotional. It is refined. It does not come from weakness or impulse, but from clarity. The strategist knows when to remove a threat, when to shame a rival, when to humiliate in silence, and when to strike where it truly hurts. The ego, an insult ignored is sometimes a blow returned. But a threat left unchecked invites rebellion. Therefore, dominance requires discernment. You must decide when to turn the other cheek and when to make an example. And when you do choose to act, your blow must be clean, absolute, and final. Dragging out punishment dilutes the message. Delayed justice becomes theater, not discipline. There are those who say kindness will win hearts. They are correct if you are a servant. But if you are a ruler of your own life, if you command the direction of others, then hearts alone will not carry your command, must be backed by consequence. People must know that betrayal will not be forgiven twice. That disrespect will not be passed over in silence. That slowness, incompetence, or treachery has a price. Not all enemies should be destroyed, but some must be. And if you choose to destroy, you must not leave them breathing, for those who survive your mercy may one day come for your throne. Even in friendship, a man must not make himself too easy. Constant kindness is misread as need, generosity becomes expected, and soon, the people around you will only value what you deny them. You must ration your approval, your attention, your compassion, give them in fragments, and withdraw them as a reminder of your distance, not to torment, but to establish gravity. A star does not chase the planets, it commands their orbit. You must become a force, not a favor. The moment people believe you need their acceptance, you lose control of the dynamic. This law also applies to your own emotions. Sentimentality weakens the will. If you let pity guide your hand, you will delay what must be done. Dominance requires emotional austerity. You must harden your heart when necessary, silence your doubts when decisions grow sharp. Not all cruelty is outward. Sometimes it means cutting loose someone who has slowed your ascent. Sometimes it means denying help to those who would drain your strength. Sometimes it means saying no, not with guilt, but with finality. A ruler who hesitates at cruelty will be ruled by the cruel. The world is not a field of flowers, it is a battlefield of intentions. And if you are not feared when necessary, you will be devoured by those who are. Use your severity not to indulge ego, but to establish order. And when you act, let your silence be as sharp as your judgment. Make it clear your kindness is a gift, not a weakness. And if it is abused, it will be withdrawn with ice in its place. The third rule for outsmarting anyone lies in the subtle mastery of appearances. In the pursuit of total dominance, it is never the most honest who wins, it is the most strategic. Perception, not truth, is the currency of influence. You may possess great intelligence, a sharp instinct, deep foresight, but if you fail to present yourself properly, you will be dismissed before your plans are ever set into motion. The wise man understands that power begins with illusion. He crafts an image, cultivates a presence, and manipulates how others see him long before they understand what he truly is. This does not mean living falsely. It means recognizing that the world does not reward naked truth, but the polished mask of control. To dominate through appearance is to study the art of invisibility in plain sight. You must learn to appear simple when you are complex, harmless when you are dangerous, agreeable when you are calculating. In a world where people react based on what they perceive, it is a fatal error to let others see too much of your ambition, your planning, or your capability. The man who reveals everything invites interference. The man who appears too competent breeds suspicion. But the one who appears mild, even foolish at times, is overlooked, and in being overlooked, he is free to act without resistance. This is not deceit. It is strategy born of survival. You must let people underestimate you. Let them believe they are in control. And when the time is right, you move unseen and unchallenged. You must also understand the role of theatrics. Power thrives on presentation. A calm voice, controlled gestures, and unshakable gaze. These are not minor details. They are tools of persuasion. Even your silence should communicate confidence. When you speak, do not ramble. Say less than necessary, but with certainty. People are drawn not to the man who knows everything, but to the one who seems to know exactly what matters. If you hesitate, you plant doubt. But if you project assurance, even when uncertain, you gain compliance. Illusion of certainty can override the presence of doubt in others' minds. Dress matters, posture matters, timing matters. The man who arrives slightly late to a room and commands it with his silence achieves more than the one who enters loudly, seeking attention. Subtle dominance is more powerful than overt aggression. People do not resist what they don't fully notice. That is the true art of power. Your appearance must not provoke fear immediately, but fascination. You must leave people unsure, slightly unsettled, wondering who you really are. That mystery gives you power. Never let anyone feel they fully understand you, because the unknown is always more intimidating than the known. In negotiations, in alliances, conflicts, always mask your true intentions. The appearance of compromise can hide the machinery of conquest. The appearance of generosity can be the veil for influence. The appearance of indifference can obscure deep planning. By controlling what others think you want, you control their response. Reveal too much, and you give them the opportunity to block your path. But appear as though you want little, and they lower their guard. Once the gates are open, you strike, not with noise, with precision. This rule also applies in the arena of conflict. If you appear too threatening too soon, you will gather enemies before your foundations are ready. If you appear weak, disorganized, distracted, they will not expect your rise. The storm that appears out of clear skies does the most damage. People prepare for visible threats, not invisible ones. The truly dangerous man smiles, listens, agrees, and waits. His patience disarms his enemies. His silence confuses them. By the time they realize his power, it is too late. You must also learn how to use appearances to destabilize others. Mirror their emotions, echo their views, their values. Make them feel seen. Let them believe you are similar. People drop their defenses when they think they are understood, and when their guard is down. This is how you slip ideas into them unnoticed, shape their opinions, guide their decisions. Power is not always taken by force. It is often offered, unknowingly, by those who feel they are giving it to a friend. But always remember, appearances are a weapon with a double edge. If you rely too heavily on deception, you may forget who you truly are. Your mask, if worn too long, can fuse to your face. Therefore, maintain a private space where you remain rooted. The mask is for the world. Your mind is your sanctuary. Never lose yourself in the game. Always be the one writing the script, not acting in someone else's play. Mastering appearance is not about becoming false. It is about becoming unreadable, and in being unreadable, you become untouchable. The fourth rule for outsmarting anyone rests in the ruthless understanding and exploitation of others' weaknesses. Every individual, regardless of how powerful or guarded they may appear, carries within them soft spots, fears, insecurities, vanity, desires, or hidden guilt. These are the threads that, when pulled correctly, unravel the composure of even the most disciplined opponent. Dominance does not require brute strength, it requires insight. The superior tactician studies people not for admiration, but for manipulation. He does not waste time trying to impress others. He dissects them, learns their behavior, watches for patterns, and listens to what they fearfully conceal between their words. What others call cruelty, he understands as clarity. In the art of dominance, empathy is not weakness, it is a weapon when properly redirected. To recognize a man's pain is to discover where he bleeds. The one who speaks loudly about loyalty may secretly fear betrayal. The one who obsesses over control may be haunted by past powerlessness. The one who flaunts riches may still tremble before the idea of insignificance. People are rarely driven by what they say they value. They are driven by the wound they are trying to hide. The wise observer collects these truths not with haste, but with patience. He listens closely in moments when others are distracted, He pays attention when others laugh too loudly, boast too proudly, or rage too quickly. In those moments, the mask slips, and behind the mask, power lies. To outmaneuver another, you must reflect their hidden self back to them. Let them believe you understand them. Let them feel seen, even cherished. Then, when their guard is at its lowest, you use what you know. This is not personal, it is strategic. For example, in negotiation, if you know your opponent fears public humiliation, you subtly raise the stakes with eyes watching. If someone is secretly desperate for validation, you withhold praise, making them work harder for your approval. If someone believes they are the cleverest in the room, feed their arrogance. Their pride will blind them to your advance. In matters of power, every interaction is a duel, even when it appears friendly. The man who outsmarts others does not simply prepare his argument, he prepares the battlefield. He tilts the ground in his favor before the conflict even begins. He ensures that his opponent is already weakened by their own doubts or distracted by their emotional turbulence. The battlefield of dominance is psychological long before it becomes verbal or visible. And the sharpest blow is not the one thrown in anger, but the one crafted in calm awareness of your opponent's fragility. This rule extends into alliances as well. Even when forming partnerships, never enter blindly. Study your allies more than your enemies. An ally with unaddressed insecurities can become a traitor under pressure. A friend who craves recognition may sell your secrets for applause. Do not assume loyalty because someone smiles. Assume calculation unless proven otherwise. You must know what people want more than they are willing to admit. And then, you must determine whether their desires are manageable or dangerous. This insight into weakness also allows you to create strength in yourself. Once you understand how easily people are manipulated by their fears and desires, you must turn inward and ask what could be used against me. The master of dominance is not simply one who exploits others, but one who neutralizes his own vulnerabilities. He removes emotion from decision, making disciplines his impulses, and reveals nothing that could be used as leverage. He does not need to hide in shadows. His mind is already a fortress. When he walks into a room, he sees not just what people say, but what they avoid. He listens not just to words, but to tone. He watches how people flinch at certain names, how they react to subtle disapproval, how they handle being ignored. These observations become power. To gain control over others is to resist being predictable. Predictability is the enemy of dominance. Once someone knows how you will respond, they can prepare. But when you are calm when they expect you to explode, indifferent when they expect you to beg, silent when they expect you to explain, you gain the upper hand. And when you exploit their weaknesses while masking your own, you become not just a step ahead, but unreachable. True superiority is not declared. It is revealed through how easily you move people without them knowing they were moved. The fifth and final rule in the art of outsmarting anyone is to master the strategic silence and invisibility of your intentions. It is not the loud, flamboyant man who gains power. It is the quiet one, the one who watches, listens, and gives little away. Power, when constantly displayed, invites resistance. When concealed, it confuses and disorients. The most dangerous figure in the room is not the one everyone is watching, but the one who remains unnoticed, calmly calculating behind the scenes. To dominate others, you must first dominate perception. Appear weaker than you are, disinterested in control, generous even. Then, strike when the time is right. Let others underestimate you. It is the finest armor. In a world obsessed with expression, restraint becomes revolutionary. When you speak too much, you reveal your mind. When you explain, you surrender your mystery. The power to withhold, your thoughts, your plans, your emotions, is one of the highest disciplines. If people cannot predict your next move, they cannot defend against it. This is why those who move in silence rule over those who act in noise. Let your presence be felt, not seen. Let your influence be whispered about, not broadcast. Once people begin to wonder what you are thinking, they start to hand you control without realizing it. Uncertainty makes people cautious, hesitant, malleable. Your silence becomes their confusion, and their confusion becomes your leverage. To remain unreadable is to hold power over interpretation. The clever mind knows that perception is everything. If they see you as emotional, they'll provoke you. If they see you as ambitious, they'll block you. If they see nothing, if your face is a blank page, they project their own fears, desires, and weaknesses onto you. And when they do that, they're not fighting you anymore. They're fighting themselves. The illusion of invisibility is crafted through deliberate self-control. You must become immune to the desire for attention, praise, and immediate recognition. These are traps. The need to prove yourself is the death of subtlety, and subtlety is the lifeblood of dominance. This rule also demands you observe how others reveal themselves through their need to be seen. Many people, in a rush to appear intelligent or influential, give away too much. They speak of their goals, their feelings, their grievances. They show you exactly where to strike. Do not be one of them. Let others confess while you remain silent. Let others declare their loyalty while you remain unrateable. Those who need to declare their intentions are usually not in control of them. They are ruled by impulse. But you must rule through patience. In dealings of power, the one who speaks last often speaks best. Let others burn themselves out trying to impress, convince, or justify. Stay quiet long enough, and they will either expose their agenda or begin to suspect you have one more powerful than theirs. And when that happens, they adjust their behavior accordingly, deferring, submitting, second-guessing. Silence turns them into collaborators in their own defeat. What appears passive is, in fact, the most calculated aggression, and it is nearly impossible to defend against because it does not come in the form of attack. This silence must be matched by the invisibility of your true goals. You may want power, but you must never look like you're reaching for it. You may want revenge, but you must never show the sting. When people do not know what drives you, they cannot influence you. The world is full of those who trade secrets and form alliances based on what others openly want. But when you refuse to name your desires, you stand alone, unbound, and untouchable. The silent man cannot be manipulated. He is not governed by flattery or criticism, praise or insult. He is a mystery, and in power, mystery is magnetic. To dominate in silence is not to do nothing. It is to act precisely and privately. It is to wait for the perfect moment, then move with such efficiency that others do not realize what has happened until it's too late. This kind of control is more effective than brute force because it does not trigger alarms. It bypasses resistance. It infiltrates. The master strategist knows that real control is subtle. It does not shout, it whispers. It does not demand, it orchestrates. And when others finally notice, it's because they've already lost the game. This rule is not for the impatient or the vain. It is for the disciplined. It is for the one who values long-term influence over temporary applause. It is for the individual who understands that in power, the unseen move is the deadliest. When you hide your strength, you protect it. When you veil your motives, you sharpen them. When you master silence, you dominate not through force, but through fear of the unknown. So the conclusion is, power does not belong to those who beg for it. It belongs to those who build it in silence, protect it with strategy, and wield it without mercy. Dominance is not an accident. It is engineered by minds that refuse to play by the rules written for the weak. The world does not reward kindness without caution, honesty without discretion, or trust without verification. It rewards clarity of purpose, mastery of self, and the ability to stay 10 steps ahead while appearing 3 steps behind. You must learn to read people before they read you. Study their ambitions, their vices, their fears. Understand what drives them, then use that understanding to drive them. Be kind, but only when it serves your design. Be honest, but only when the truth is your weapon. Be visible only when you're ready to be unforgettable. These 5 rules are not just tactics, they are a way of life, a shift from being played to being the one who writes the game. To outsmart anyone, you must become no one. To dominate, you must learn to disappear in plain sight. Influence does not come from shouting. It comes from pulling strings behind the curtain. And when the world finally sees your rise, they won't understand how you got there, because by the time they do, it will be too late to stop you. Remember this: never announce your moves, never expose your plans, and never forget, the one who watches in silence is always more dangerous than the one who speaks with fire.